Today on the CTV News at 5, what happens now that Lethbridge's MP is set to run in Medicine Hat? Plus, how one community is trying to lure more doctors. And
Alberta had two of the largest camps in Canada in Medicine Hat and Lethbridge.
a look into the lives of prisoners of war.
CTV News with Jackie Scantlebury.
Good afternoon. There's mixed reaction to decision by Lethbridge MP Jim Hillier to change ridings in the next federal election. Hillier announced on Friday that he will run for re-election in the Medicine Hat riding because election boundaries are being redrawn. Hillier's hometown, Raymond, will move from the Lethbridge riding to Medicine Hat riding. Terry Vogt has the latest.
MP Jim Hillier says he wants to make it clear that he's fully committed to representing people in the Lethbridge riding until the next federal election, likely at least 2 years away. But Hillier says changes in the electoral boundary have forced him to take a serious look at his future and where he'll run for re-election when the time comes.
The Boundary Commission had a job to do. They have to add 6 new ridings to the province, and that changes things up. And I certainly feel like the people in Lethbridge and Picture Butte and so on are still my friends and neighbors, but they drew the line somewhere else.
As a result of the boundary change, the new Medicine Hat riding will include the Blood Reserve, as well as all of the communities in the counties of Cardston and Warner. Hillier lives here in Raymond. He says it's always been his practice to represent the people where he lives, his friends and neighbors. There are no regulations forcing MPs to live in the constituency they represent. In many ways, it would have been easier for Hillier to stay where he is and run in the Lethbridge riding.
The Medicine Hat riding is huge and administratively a lot more difficult to manage. But for me, being politically expedient or administratively easy isn't what motivates me to be in this position. And so that's not what I base my decisions on.
Controversy has followed Hillier throughout his brief political career. During the election campaign, he was criticized for a decision to withdraw from public forums, and his shooting gun imitation during a vote to abolish the long gun registry generated more negative feedback. So it's no surprise the reaction to this announcement is mixed.
I think he's good wherever he goes because I like that guy.
I think we're better off without him, quite honestly.
I think the people in the community would appreciate being represented by somebody who is among them that they can rub shoulders with, and I do think that's important.
Terry Vogt, CTV News, Lethbridge.
Hillier will have to win the nomination in a riding now represented by Conservative MP LeVar Payne. Although because of the boundary realignment, the Entry Riding Association will also be reorganized. Hillier says he didn't consult with his Tory colleague before making his decision, but did let Payne know that his intentions are that he will run. And on to municipal politics now, where Lethbridge City Council has voted unanimously in support of a bid to host an International Skate Canada competition in 2015. The city has agreed to put $250,000 towards the event, which could bring in over $5 million to the local economy. And this afternoon, City Council also awarded a $2 million contract for work on 4 new walking paths. It's expected to be complete by the fall. Okay, Dory, we're going to see showers, some sunshine, a range of temperatures. We're not going to see snow, though, right?
No.
Oh,
Where did that come from?
just checking.
Yeah, you were just joking, right, Jackie? Yeah. No, we're not expecting any snowfall here in the next few days. We are expecting, as you just said, a mixed bag of conditions. Temperatures a little variable. Conditions certainly variable. It looks like Wednesday and Thursday will be the 2 wettest days in the forecast. I'll give you all the details, but stay tuned for the weekend.
Thank you, Dory. Well, as many rural communities struggle to find doctors and healthcare professionals, the town of Pincher Creek is taking a hands-on approach to filling the gap. As Brendan Miller explains, dozens of medical nursing and physical therapy students got a little taste of small-town living this weekend.
First responders rescue a victim at the scene of an accident, as medical students watch from the sidelines. It's all part of a workshop put on by the Rural Physicians Action Plan, aimed to give medical students an insight of what life is like as a rural healthcare provider.
I love being a rural physician. In any given day, you could deliver a baby, reduce a fracture in the emergency room, deal with a cardiac arrest victim, and do a well baby visit, all within a 24-hour period, and that's phenomenal.
Dr. Gavin Parker said he had a change of heart after attending a similar event while attending medical school and decided rural healthcare was for him.
You get to use all the training that you had in medical school and residency. You never know what's going to walk in during the day, and you really get to keep your skills sharp in a bunch of different areas.
But for many healthcare providers, the choice to move can't be made alone. During this workshop, medical students were encouraged to bring along their spouses or partners to see what rural life is like.
We know that the health professionals will have a fulfilling and rewarding career, but if their spouse is unhappy or feel that there is no opportunity for them in a small town, the health professional can't stay or can't stay happily if they know that their partner is unhappy.
The couple on the left, a medical student and nursing student, say they have already considered the benefits of moving to a rural community. They say workshops like this provide great insight.
It's good to have first-hand exposure as to what it's like, and through these events and working rural, I think that's where it'll be.
Yeah, I think for me, raising a family in small town life, it's slower and stuff like that. So I think having a young family in a small town it might be quite appealing, actually.
And that appeal is what essentially brought Dr. Parker and his wife to Pincher Creek.
I saw how happy the rural doctors and, more importantly, their spouses were, and that really sold me on the whole package.
Brendan Miller, CTV News, Pincher Creek.
It took just over 3 years to do, but in that time, the Lethbridge Interfaith Food Bank raised support, purchased a building, and completed the reconstruction of their new home. The ribbon is now cut, marking the completion of Phase 2 of the project, which includes a brand new state-of-the-art kitchen and food preparation area. Members of the community got to tour the new storage facility and expansion of second level. Now more plans are revealed for the site of a future garden and greenhouse to grow their own organic vegetables. The whole thing cost more than $300,000, which included grants, $90,000 from the city, and $35,000 from Knights of Columbus and in-kind donations from the community.
It's just an amazing show of the community support that we received, that we were able to raise the money and get the construction done in this short of time. We are very, very proud of and very, very grateful for the community support.
The food bank serves 1,500 people every month. The Royal Alberta Museum has unveiled an amazing and unique acquisition. It's a collection of hundreds of objects handcrafted by German prisoners held captive here in southern Alberta. It's the most extensive collection of its kind in the country, and it's eclectic to say the least. Janet Dirks has more.
From a figurine carved out of wood to a ship in a bottle, these items were made by German POWs sent to live in Canada during the Second World War.
You have a lot of young men who have a lot of time on their hands, and so to get them to do crafts, arts and crafts, it kept them occupied rather than thinking of ways to escape.
The artifacts were amassed over 40 years by a private collector. Now the Royal Alberta Museum has acquired it, fitting as the majority of the prisoners were housed in the province.
Alberta had two of the largest camps in Canada, in Medicine Hat and Lethbridge.
The creations range from the practical to the whimsical.
I like this one because as you lift it up, there's the cigarette.
They used what they had on hand.
That particular ship is made from turkey breastbone, and it has turkey skin sails.
Sometimes the men would sell the handicrafts to the guards.
They were able to recover a bit of extra money for use in the local canteen.
There were some things that weren't merely souvenirs. This fake gun was confiscated.
Most likely an escape aid, right?
It's a remarkable chapter in Canada's history, and the Regina man who collected all the pieces hopes museum goers will want to learn more about it.
It's been a very low-key thing during the war and even after the war that prisoners were here.
Robert Henderson, a retired RCMP officer, admits it was hard to part with his decades-long passion, but he wanted the collection to remain intact.
If something were to happen to me at my age, and it went to eBay or some other source, it would simply be dispersed across the world and never be able to be put back together.
And Henderson plans to be at the exhibit when it eventually opens. Janet Dirks, CTV News, Calgary.
A very prestigious honor for the coordinator of the University of Lethbridge's Native Student Advising Office. Elizabeth Ferguson has received an award from the Institute for the Advancement of Aboriginal Women for her work to support First Nations, Métis and Inuit students at the U of L. Ferguson is the first recipient at the university to win the award. The U of L currently has more than 400 FNMI students from all parts of Canada. A human rights advocate group came up with a creative way to spread the word about Canada's past.
It covered thousands of kilometers.
These blankets you see on the floor are making a statement. They represent the land in Canada before the settlers came. Now, taking the blankets away is meant to represent the white man's encroachment on the land. It was part of a teaching tool to raise awareness of the relationship between Indigenous and non-Indigenous people across Canada. About 30 people attended the exercise held at St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church Friday night.
It's a popular education exercise that we developed alongside Indigenous resource people with their help to talk about the history that Canadians, for the most part, never learn. How the reserve system that we have in place today came to be, how the Indian Act came to be, how Indigenous peoples have effectively lost over 90% of their traditional territories to the newcomers.
Well, they dated all the way back to the 1920s and included an array of different years, makes, and models. 117 classic cars in all were on display at the Coaldale Custom Cruiser Show and Shine over the weekend. The event has been held for the past 12 years and always follows the Victoria Day long weekend. Organizers say they were happy with both the weather and the turnout. With about 30 members, the club is always looking for more hot rodders and greasers. Basically anyone with an interest in cars is invited to join and show off what they've got. Coming up, Dory's going to tell us more about what's in store for this week's forecast. First, though, the day's markets.